They did a great job in that. So they are people that you can hire, and some of the proceeds go back to Solidarity program. So thank you, Kyle. We really appreciate it. One of the things that stood out to me about this video was this phrase, compassion means to enter into suffering. It's to suffer with others. And that's a big thing for Solidarity. It's part of what we've always been trying to do, is that we move into places of suffering, not because the people needed us so much, but because we realized that God was moving in this specific area in a way that we didn't experience, sometimes outside of the neighborhood. And so, what I want to do first off is invite my friend Valeria Sosa to come up. There she is. Valeria is one of the most ambitious young ladies that I've ever met in my life. I met her in 5th grade originally, and even then she knew exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to go to law school. She actually graduated from her undergrad in 3 years. This woman has more ambition as a 5th grader than I ever did in 37 years of life. So will you guys please welcome Valeria Sosa.
My story with you and hope that somehow it impacts you, and then you guys want to learn even more about it. Solidarity feels like a second home at this point. They have cared for me throughout the several obstacles I have had to face, but then at the same time, they have shared with excitement the many victories of my journey. I first learned about Solidarity when I was about 10 years old. At that moment, I was reading about 2 to 3 grade levels below what I was supposed to. I was being raised by a single mom who, on a good year, made about $12,000 to support a family of 4. While growing up in Garnet, I remember that the community, everybody in the community, got along pretty well. And so one day when I was walking home from Topaz Elementary School, there was a shooting. I remember hearing the gunshots, and seconds later seeing community members run in all directions. I was too far from the actual scene to see if any of my friends were hurt, so then I just made a quick right turn and went home. It was the first time in many years that gang violence erupted in the Garnet community. It was one of the most violent events that happened that summer. Gang violence negatively impacted all of us. In the years to follow, I also noticed that alcoholism had an influence in the community. It had a power to pull families apart. In addition to that, I saw a number of individuals fall to the use of crystal meth. Friends and family members fell victim to this addiction. I know that communities like mine can be transformed into what they were created to be, places that are safe for families and educational for kids. I know that this is possible, because when I saw violence and drug addiction take over my community, I also saw Solidarity journey alongside with many like me to reach our dreams and goals. Most importantly, those at Solidarity do not hide when tragedy strikes. No. Instead, they work alongside with you and face the struggles. I want you to consider something that often gets forgotten and overlooked. It is not common for children that grow up in communities like mine to be validated. More often than not, they are ignored. Their parents are too busy to ask them how school went. We are expected to be better than our parents. After all, most of them migrated here to provide a better and brighter future for their children. However, we're never told how to accomplish that, and we're never given the tools to accomplish that. When I expressed an interest to go to the summer honors program from Princeton University to Bethany Anderson, she didn't hesitate. She said, "We will help you." It is one of the first memories that I have as an adult, using their words to express that she cared and that she was committed to my dream. I know in my heart that my mom cared and that she was committed to all of my dreams, but she was pretty busy trying to support her own family. I am extremely grateful for every single mentor and volunteer at Solidarity. Whether you're Bethany Anderson and you have been my mentor for 10 years now and now my boss, or whether you're Shelly and you were my first mentor at Solidarity, and you came up with the song that she would sing after my name every time she saw me walk into the program. Every person that has been with me in my journey has brought me to where I am today. I believe I was able to beat the odds to achieve my dreams because every time I asked, those at Solidarity were willing and ready to help. I know what Solidarity does on a daily basis. All their hard work really makes a difference. I know it made a difference in my life. Today, I am on staff with Camino Immigration Services as outreach coordinator. The struggles that communities like mine face are vast. They range from not having access to help with homework, all the way to not being able to afford legal aid. Today, I intend to give back to the community all the help and support I want to receive by helping out my neighbors and my family members with their immigration needs. Every time I feel like law school is way too hard, I remember my dream to help others. I believe that God has blessed me with such a privilege to be able to go to law school so that I can serve in His plan to help all the community members in need. I hope that one day Camino Immigration Services is more than just an immigration clinic, and that we are able to care for our neighbors in all aspects of the law. I know that God has crafted all of us in a very unique and special way, and that is why I want to encourage all of you to use that ability and talent that God has blessed you with and share it with those who need it right now. I want to reaffirm that it matters whether or not the church chooses to get involved in our lives. I hope that you can see through my journey why it does matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leah. One of the things that stood out to me in Valeria's speech was she said that most of the youth in the neighborhoods actually don't get validated at all. They don't have an adult presence in their lives telling them that they can make it and they can do it. In fact, they often get ignored. And that kind of hit me, right? I can't imagine to not hearing words of life being poured over you and just trying to navigate life on your own. But then you hear the story of Bethany Anderson, who comes in with compassion, enters into a time of suffering in Valeria's life, and says, I will be with you in there. I'm not going to try to fix you. I'm not going to try to make everything perfect, but I will be with you in that moment. And from there, what do we see in Valeria's life is that she ends up exhibiting that same compassion. And she joins in with Camino Immigration Services and decides to suffer with others who are going through documentation issues. This is the beautiful thing of the kingdom, is that it just always reciprocates. It keeps pouring out. And that's one of the beautiful things that I loved about your story. Thank you, Valeria, so much. Not only do we invite you guys to come into our neighborhood and journey with us and do the after-school programs or teen centers with us or meet people like Valeria, but we also want to train churches to help do this in their own cities, in their own neighborhoods. And so part of that is we love the church, the local church. And we were talking around with our staff. We figured that there are 28 different churches represented here today in this room, which is an amazing thing. That's a beautiful picture of God's kingdom. 28 of you guys. We got the Lutherans over there and UYWIs down here in the middle. I know the Nazarenes are here somewhere, right? The Naz is always good. Awesome. We got our Friends Church somewhere in the back. All hearts clear? Yeah, there you go. Good job. I know Viola is also here represented. We love you guys. Thank you so much for coming. And everybody else in here is pretty non-committal because you guys are all just non-denominational people. I'm with you in that. But one of our things is we want to help churches transform their own cities. We don't want to do solidarity in every single neighborhood throughout Orange County. Our next guest is a pastor from a local church, or not a local church, I'm sorry, from the Pacific Northwest, Beaverton Foursquare. Jim Newby, it just oozes everything Pacific Northwest. I mean, if you smell the guy, he smells like single origin, rich coffee. And he'll come up and he'll hug you all the time, and it feels like you're in a North Face jacket. It's a beautiful thing. But Jim, if you wouldn't mind coming up. Jim is a man that I respect a lot because he has been working for so long with Beaverton Foursquare Church to really change the way that they do discipleship. So will you give it up for Jim Newby?
Well, good evening. I'm just excited to be here, and I know I have a little thing to say here, but I just wanted to let everyone in the room know that for my wife, Pam is right here, and came along with us, but solidarity has become for us our family. And when I get a chance to come down here, and I think I'm coming more and more, it's just not because it's raining like cats and dogs in the Pacific Northwest right now, and it's awesome down here weather-wise. But there's just an anticipation in my heart all the time that I can't wait to get here and see everybody and be here with them. And so I wanted to at least let you know that from my heart. I'm on the point of wanting to cry. I'm honored to be here. And as Kevin said, my name is Jim Newby. I'm a pastor on staff at Beaverton Foursquare Church. If you're not familiar with that, Beaverton Foursquare is a large suburban church in the Portland area. Meg Vada, who's over here, who was on staff with Solidarity, was actually an intern at Beaverton Foursquare. She actually was pretty much born and raised there, or started going there when she was small. And I had the privilege of being able to serve with Meg there at Beaverton Foursquare. And that kind of started our relationship. And Meg went away, came down here to college. A few years ago, Meg came to Beaverton and approached a few of us about forming a partnership with Solidarity. In particular with Impact. And I think there's some Impact students here tonight as well who have been a part of some of the things that we've been doing. And Impact is a student leadership development program. Her hope was that her Impact leaders would have an opportunity to live out their leadership training in a practical way. She explained her concern that her students' opportunities were limited. She was recalling how her leadership was developed primarily in our churches, that hers was developed in our church's youth camps. Beaverton Foursquare is big time summer camp stuff that we do. And she came as a camp counselor and was wondering what church would entrust her Solidarity youth to lead their children, having not grown up in their church community. As she shared, I thought to myself, others at the table are listening and thinking, what does this have to do with our church? But I thought to myself, what church is willing to take the risk to find out if this has to do with God's kingdom? And quite frankly, for me, because of my love and relationship for Meg, and a sense of God saying on the inside, you need to do this, I decided we were moving forward into the unknown. It was a crazy day for me. It was awesome. So the next thing that I know, I have 15 of my student leaders on a plane. Heading to Fullerton, California. And over the course of preparation for Solidarity's Impact students to enter our church's camp context, I recognized we needed space for the students to build trust and relationships together. As we entered Fullerton, unsure of how these two very different groups of teenagers would relate, we saw God move. After a weekend of spending time together, receiving training from each other's leaders, and ending our time in an Easter, am I dying? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. It's a little louder. I like it. That's good. After a weekend of spending time together, receiving training from each other's leaders, and ending our time in an Easter outreach, our students experienced their identity as the church. Phone numbers and social media contacts were exchanged. It was pretty awesome. And friendships continued to grow for the next 3 months until it was time for camp. In June of 2015, 20 Solidarity youth and leaders flew to Oregon, some of which had never been on a plane before, which was really fun as well, as part of our camp staff, and experienced an opportunity to live out their leadership and join in with God's kingdom movement in the Northwest. In this exchange, two very different expressions of the church trusted one another's leaders to disciple. Can I say that again? In this exchange, two very different expressions of the church trusted one another's leaders to disciple, lead, and pour into one another's youth. While there were inevitable questions asked by a few skeptical parents on my end, when other Beaverton Foursquare pastors visited the camp, they were unable to identify which camp staff was from Solidarity. Is that awesome? Yeah. This was an indication of the unity that God brought to us as His church. In fact, in our second year of this exchange, the Solidarity Impact leaders were half of our camp counseling staff. And their leadership was phenomenal. Almost 3 years into this journey, I'm seeing now how God wanted to give context to some radical paradigm shifts that He had been stirring in my heart. We're no longer in the age of an inward-focused church discipleship, but rather pursuing an outward-focused kingdom discipleship. Our partnership with Solidarity gave context to live this out. When we disciple young people, we have to do so with the understanding that they're called by God to live out their love for Jesus in the world, not in the safety of the four walls of a church building or what they are familiar with. We do this by joining God in what He is already actively doing in the world. Our new belief has to be that we disciple the next generation by asking God to show us what opportunities He has for them to experience in His kingdom, and then to enter what He's doing in the world, as opposed to a mentality that says we have to get people inside of the church in order to make them more like Jesus. Our partnership with Solidarity is helping our understanding that when we're present with others in the world, we learn that God is active and moving everywhere. And as members of His body, we join Christ in His ongoing activity as full kingdom participants. As we participate, we share in the sacrificial suffering love of Jesus. And that's what transforms our hearts to be like His. This journey with all of our kids has been so fun. It's amazing to see how the Solidarity youth who returned to camp for a second year really grew in their spiritual leadership. They served as mentor counselors, not only to the younger Solidarity Impact leaders, but also to our younger Beaverton Foursquare leaders. In addition, two of my student leaders spent an additional 2 weeks this past summer with Solidarity, serving in their summer programs, and experiencing a front row seat of how God is at work in the Maple and Garnett neighborhoods. I know that all of our kids are experiencing God's kingdom beyond our limited church context, and it brings me hope that they will continue to seek, enter, and live out a consequential faith as ambassadors of God's kingdom wherever He calls them into the world. God has already taught us so much through this partnership, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what is to come in the future. I continue to ask the Lord, what do you have next? Where are you taking us? His answer is the same as it has been for 2,000 years. Follow me. Continue to be devoted to loving and serving one another, being a faithful presence together in the kingdom of Christ. Learn to be together, then I will show you how to do together. If you're a pastor or leader who feels called to disciple the next generation, I encourage you to be ready to take the risk God may have for you in entering His kingdom work in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but one powerful thing that Jim said, he said, we are no longer in the age of an inward-focused church discipleship, but rather pursuing an outward-focused kingdom discipleship. The partnership with Solidarity gave context to live this out. That is a prophetic statement. In an age and an era where we're all inward-focused, where everything's about ourselves and we're self-absorbed, it takes getting out and being in relationship with others to allow you to experience God in the fullness. And I think Beaver and Foursquare has benefited from that, and Solidarity, our youth, have definitely benefited from that. So thank you so much, Jim and Pam, for everything that you guys have done for us. We appreciate it. So far, we've heard a story of compassion with Valet. And then after that, we heard about the church transforming through entering into compassion with Jim. Next, we're going to be hearing about the city transformation. If the church grows deeper with Jesus, how does that actually play out in the city? And about 6 months ago, we had the chief of police, Dan Hughes, come into our staff meeting and share with us his personal view on the city and what was going on. And admittedly, I wasn't very super excited. I never had the greatest relationship with police, but I was like, okay, I can do this. We'll listen what's going on. And I'm telling you, Chief Hughes floored me. He is a man of such high character, a man that desperately is fearful of God, but fears nothing else. He's been protecting our city for over 30 years. And we asked Dan to share just a little bit of what he saw in the city, how the city has been changing and transforming in the past 30 years. So, watch this video, and we'll get to see.
Amazingly, from the school. Hi, my name is Dan Hughes, and I'm the police chief in the city of Fullerton. I've been working in Fullerton for over 30 years, and these are some of the most exciting times in the city that I've ever seen. We are seeing transformations in this city like never before. One of the exciting parts that I want to share with you is how the church is working with the city government to really transform our city. You know, the churches have always done great things independently of one another, but finally we're seeing the churches here in Fullerton working together to accomplish so much more and so much greater than they can independently. Some of the exciting things that I've seen is just the gyms area alone. That's the east side of our town. And for years, I ashamedly thought that there'd never be any hope for this area. That this community was going to be the way that it has been for 30 years. That generation after generation, we would see people that would be turning to gangs and turning away from schools. But yet we've now seen a significant change in this neighborhood. This community has come together amazingly. From the schools to the nonprofit organizations, we're seeing kids excited about learning, excited to go to college. And so many of these kids never thought that they would actually even graduate from high school. And now they're planning their education to go to college. And it's so exciting to see what Solidarity is doing and so many of the other nonprofit organizations and really providing hope to neighborhoods that really were hopeless before. And so, from the police department side and from being your police chief, I can just tell you, I am so thankful for Solidarity, thankful for the many nonprofit organizations and the churches working together to improve our community. And I'm so proud to be the police chief here in the city of Fullerton. So one of the amazing stories that I've learned from this is how a small group of young adults from Hope International University decided to really take on the challenge of planting themselves into neighborhoods where most people never wanted to go to. And that started the beginning stories of Solidarity, of people who are actually moving to these neighborhoods. Some people are trying to move out of and trying to demonstrate love to people, to their neighbors. And they started showing these kids that there's hope beyond just a particular neighborhood, that they can go to school, that they can thrive in their communities. And we're seeing them go from one neighborhood to another neighborhood. It started in the Garden neighborhood. Now they're in Maple neighborhood. And the after-school programs, and they're just being embraced by this community. And so Solidarity is just doing amazing work and a role model for other nonprofit organizations. And I will just tell you, if you can get involved in Solidarity, you're going to be getting involved in changing the community. And I ask them to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hughes, for that. I love that he said, I ashamedly thought there would be no hope for this area, that this community was going to be the same way it had been for the past 30 years. He has a very distinct perspective on the city of Fullerton, and Chief Hughes was able to see the transformation that's going on, not because of what Solidarity was doing, but it's because of you guys, the local churches that were joining in with us, coming into the neighborhood and engaging people in suffering. And it's a beautiful thing that we get to see some of the fruit of that right now, and other people on the outside are seeing the fruit of that. It's an amazing thing. So now I would like to invite up our mayor, the Fullerton mayor, Jennifer Fitzgerald. This is an amazing woman who has been crucial in all the development that's been going on here in the city. I love her because I know she is crazy busy, insanely busy, but still makes enough time to go out there and meet everybody, shake hands, and get to know people who are who they are. So, if you would please welcome the mayor of Fullerton, Jennifer Fitzgerald.
So a politician at an event like this. I am Mike. That's right. I love Solidarity, and I love the city of Fullerton. And in the past 4 years, that awe of how God has moved in the heart of our community. You know, it is so novel, isn't it? And yet not really at all, that the church is in the world and that we dig into the lives of the vulnerable. I mean, in the Bible it says, right, that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and all your strength. But the second is just like, I have been so amazed at what God can do when we simply ask ourselves the question, who is our neighbor? And the beautiful response you have found through Solidarity is just a testament, as Chief Hughes said, of the great work that God can do in our life. You know, for my family, gratitude is really a guiding principle of our life. And in 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, the Apostle Paul says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in all things give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And when I hear Valeria talk about how she wants to give back, I think, isn't that great? That's what gratitude does to us. Yep. When you have a grateful heart, you can't help but give back. And this community is feeling the effect of your grateful heart, that you would then give back to others in need. And so I really see Solidarity as a beautiful picture of people really stepping in to be Jesus' hands and feet, and making Jesus beautiful. And I love that about you. I didn't know about Solidarity when I joined the city council, and one of the best things about being on the city council is that you get to meet so many fantastic people and see the great work that's happening all over the community. One of the worst things is getting to see how much is left undone and how many people need for folks to come alongside them. And so I know it has been great the past couple years as I've gotten to know Tommy and the people at Solidarity, trying to do what Chief Hughes said, really bring the city in as a partner with the faith community. A lot of cities don't want to have anything to do with churches, not here in Fullerton. You can see that really God has placed his followers in positions to be able to have a front row seat at what he's doing and be involved with that work that he's doing. And so it's been awesome to get to know the GEM district through the heart and eyes of Tommy and Kevin and Laura, and to understand that 1,200 kids live in that 4-block radius. And for a city official to understand they have no safe park to play in. And I love that we've been together on Pearl Park's field praying over Pearl Park. And I love that we've been together on your campus in the Maple community, working together to try to dig into those lives. And you have my commitment that we are going to, as long as I'm there, we are going to keep doing this. And if you're not already praying for Pearl Park, this is something, government doesn't do much well, right? But we should be pretty good at building parks and keeping communities safe. And our city has a lot to do in that regard for these neighborhoods that you live in and for these people's lives that you dig into. But you have my commitment that we will keep prayerfully working to make that partnership stronger and to be part of what I know God wants to do in those communities. So I know that's not a speech that you usually hear a politician give, but you can take the girl out of Biola, but you can never take the Biola out of the girl. And so now I'll try to be very official and present Mr. Tommy Nixon and the Solidarity Organization a certificate from the city. Probably know about Tommy is that he doesn't really like government, and really, honestly, you have no use for politicians. I totally get that, and so I've been so honored that he's let me become a friend, and has trusted me with these things. And so it is, even though this is such a small token, it is really my honor to give this certificate to you for your 14 years of service in the community. I have a lot of fun being mayor, and one of the great things about it is that you get to encourage other people and you get to honor folks when they do good things. And I had these challenge coins made that I've been giving out this year to celebrate excellence. And I think your organization is so excellent. There's a simple quote on the back of this coin, and it's from Arthur Ashe, who, as you probably know, was the first African American to ever win Wimbledon or the US Open, and more than being a world-class tennis player, he was a world-class humanitarian. And he said very simply, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. That's it. That's all we are required to do. And we all start from somewhere. We all have gifts and talents to use. And if all of us just do what we can, the world is going to be a better place, and that's what you're doing. So I want to give this to you to thank you and encourage you to keep going.
I don't know who told you that I didn't like government, but somebody ratted me out. So we need to have a talk afterwards. But I just want to say thank you. I am filled with gratitude. I love that that's part of your family value system, that gratitude. I stand up here full of gratitude for God, what He's invited me into. I stand up here in gratitude for you. I stand up here for gratitude for our staff that put this event on. I stand up up here with gratitude for our board, for those donors. So many of you have helped keep this thing going for 14 years. And I want to honor you tonight because I'm so thankful that you've allowed me, you joined with me, and that we've been able to do something amazing together. I hope that you take your part in what we're sharing tonight. And for those of you who are new to Solidarity, I know that's a lot of you here, we're inviting you. That's what tonight's about. We're inviting you in on it. We want you to be part of these kind of stories. I've known Valeria since she was 10. It's huge to watch and struggle and see her go over barrier, over barrier, over barrier. The chief was talking about her neighborhood when he said, I didn't have hope for that place. And yet, here she stands. And so I'm inviting you in on that. 14 years ago, this whole thing started because we asked the question, what would it look like if we actually lived out the teachings of Jesus? And so we were like, let's just take one teaching because that seems easy. Let's keep that bar low. And so we said, why don't we try love your neighbor as yourself? I heard that sometime, somewhere. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so we went and tried to do that, and we were led to the Garnett Community Center. And we had this opportunity, and we started an after-school program. We started with 8 kids. October 28, 2002, started with 8 kids. Now, 14 years later, we're doing a lot of things. We're in a couple different neighborhoods here in the city. We moved into these neighborhoods. That's what makes us a little bit different. We're talking about, hey, I'm going to be a neighbor. If I'm going to love my neighbor, I have to be a neighbor. So we moved in. And we run after-school programs and leadership and community development. We're doing all that in a couple neighborhoods. And during the summer, we do it citywide. And then nationally, we work on immigration reform. Now, some of you get like, whoa, don't get political up in here. All right? Here's the deal. Is that I think we can all agree that it needs to be reformed. No matter what side of the fence you're on that. And so we said that the system is broken, we need to do something about it. So we do legislative ministry, and we work with our congressional members to say, you should care about this because your constituency does. Through the lens of Scripture. Not only that, we're practical about it. We started an actual legal services. That's what Valeria is working on. And we're praying her through law school because we need some lawyers. So, and so we're doing that. We're seeing hope given to families that had no hope. We're living in the dark, hiding. And now there's a way to help them out. Internationally, we're in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We work with street children and sex trafficking survivors. We're doing some big things down there, excited. And then we have something called Solid Enterprises, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about later, but we have businesses because we realize we need jobs. So job training. And it also helps us fund our programs. So I'm going to invite you later to do business with us. And so we're doing all these things, and yet we've been on this journey that we're inviting you in today. And so when you came in, did you notice all these tables come in? Did you stop and talk to anybody? Some of you did. Okay, cool. So, they're all my staff that was out there. They want to talk to you. They're sharing. And what we want to do is we want to say, these are the areas that we're working in towards the transformation of our city. Areas like education and justice. And so I want to give you a couple highlights just to really thank God and his attitude of gratitude tonight to say this is what's been happening this last year. In the area of education, as we've kind of engaged education as a means of transforming our city, for 14 years, we've been walking with students through their entire academic career. When we first started, our high school graduation rate was 50%. It's 98%. We're seeing people's lives. Oh, you can clap for that. Somebody over here started that. Way to go. Good job, Mark. So we're seeing that change. When we started with those 6-year-olds, they're young adults now, and they're doing well. We've seen through our summer program at Soulful that we collaborate with a number of churches and civic organizations and institutions and our partner organizations. This last summer we saw 371 students do Soulful at 4 different sites in the city. We were able to collaborate with the church to replace summer school when it got cut from the budget. That's the power of what can happen through the collaboration of the church when it steps up. We have a new staff member that she moved into a new position. Her name is Leilani Hernandez, and she is right over here. Lonnie is probably by far the smartest person on staff. She has her master's. She's all clapping for herself. I'm just kidding. No, you weren't. Yay. Hey, you did the work, sister. So she has her master's in education, and so she's been working on researching really through the 40 developmental assets to say, hey, how are we addressing these resiliency factors for our kids? We're serious about this work. This isn't us showing up to play kickball with a couple of kids. We're saying, what kind of factors help you make it to be the person that God created you to be? And we got Lonnie on that. And what she did through her research is she found out through Solidarity's, what we call Context for Relationship, our program, she found that in our program we have 36 of the 40. That we are providing these type of things for our students and our families so that they can make it. And it's an amazing thing. And we're getting a little bit deeper on that research, making sure that some of those that are a little weak, yeah, we provide it, but it's not really deep yet, we're working on it. And so she's doing all that strategy. In the area of leadership, where we have an Impact Leaders program, and over the last 3 sessions called Impact, it's 73%. 73% of our kids are moving forward from level to level because they're doing the hard work, they're meeting with their mentors, and they're making goals, and they're achieving those goals. And so we have roughly 486 personal and leadership goals have been set by students since the first session of Impact in spring 2014. What this means is that we are teaching our young people to set a goal and then work towards it. How many of you know that's important in our neighborhoods? That these kids that are going, I can't do anything, people are telling me, we got people, sometimes it's people that are in a position of power. Teachers sometimes just going, they're just tired. Saying, I don't think you're going to ever make that. Maybe you shouldn't think about college. And yet we're saying, no, that's not true. Set a goal, we're going to walk with you to reach it. 75 service projects have been completed by our Impact students. It's not about being a victim anymore. It's about, no, you can do this, and you're going to give back. And they're doing it. It's Valeria's story over and over and over again, hundreds and hundreds of times over, to say, no, I'm going to give back. I'm coming back to the neighborhood. In the area of discipleship, 21 students have been baptized. Because they get to it, they go, what is up with you people? Why are you here? I don't know how many times I've heard that. Why are you here? Because I'm like, because God told me. That's why I'm here. And so we've had 21 students been baptized, and many come to Jesus. 10 different churches support and engage our youth church. In both of our neighborhoods, we had youth churches pop up, and we're not one of those people that kind of hit people over the head with the Bible. We're living out our faith, and they're going, hey, what's going on here? I want to know more about that. Oh, okay, we'll teach you. And they're asking for this, and you see these youth groups, these youth churches pop up. 2 in both neighborhoods, and then these rival gang neighborhoods, they came together to form one youth church. It's called Merge. 10 different churches support that. We have churches, and the church that I lead is one of those churches where we're asking, hey, can Merge just be our youth group? Can we collaborate with each other's churches and just have one big youth group that we all disciple together, that we all care for together? I've never heard of that. And we're seeing it happening in our city. In the areas of justice, we are opening the very first aftercare house for underage sex trafficking survivors in Sao Paulo, one of the largest cities in the world. And that is opening within the next month. Everything's set. I know some of you have been praying for this for years, and it's taken us a long time. It's taken us a long time, but we're there. Everything's set. The security on the house is good. We've hired all the people, and we're waiting for those young ladies to come. Talk about hope in a deeply, deeply dark place. That's happening in the next month. Camino, which is our immigration services, has assisted over 70 people just this year pursuing immigration relief. Now, that might not sound like a big number to you, but when you have been living in fear every day of your life because you don't know what's going to happen to your parents or to yourself every time you drive, Every time you go to work and you're nervous about that, when we meet with you and say, here's a way for you to get right, that brings hope. In the area of business, we have 3 different businesses. We're Solid T Screen Printing, Solid City Copy, and Contrast Collective, which we're launching tonight. I'm going to share a little bit about that a little bit later. And these businesses over the last year, $273,000 in gross sales, with a 25% profit margin. Man, we are taking that, we are reinvesting it, and we're making more so we can continue to care for these kids and these families. They're learning jobs and job training. 75% of our students in our workforce development plan have gotten jobs and maintained employment. This is just this last year. This is what transformation looks like, and we're serious about it because we measure it. You're not serious about something if you're not measuring. And we're measuring because we want to know, and I want to tell the story of what God's been doing. And so we're inviting you to continue to journey with us and join with us if it's your first time here, getting to know about Solidarity. Journey with us. And so I want to share a little bit in my next couple minutes, and then we're going to go in for what we're here for. I'm going to invite you to come on board. But I want to share a little bit of my journey and our journey as a community, how we got here. You know, at first in 2002, it was all about serving people. It's just about serving. I'm here to serve. Anybody? I just want to serve people. You know those kind of people at the church. They always want to serve somebody, right? And they're trying to get you to serve somebody. And you're kind of like trying to avoid that person, right? Don't look at them if they're sitting at your table. Don't do that. And so it was all about serving people. So we thought we were bringing Jesus to the neighborhood, and then, Jesus was already there, and I ran into him really quick. I was like, oh, shoot, you've heard this before. That's weird. And so I showed up, and it was all about service, and then we realized along the way that you can serve people without loving them. You cannot, though, love someone without serving them. And so it changed us, and we started really thinking about it, and we started thinking about, Jesus didn't say, serve your neighbor as yourself. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. And we had to wrestle with that. We had to change our language around that. You'll hear us say things like friends and neighbors. We don't have clients. We don't have projects. We're not trying to fix people. We're just joining in, trying to live out the beliefs that we have. Whenever I meet with city folks that get nervous about the Jesus thing, and some of you might be like, this is like church tonight. Like, what did you bring me to, okay? We're talking about God. It's all right. I just go, listen, I'm not trying to force these people to believe what I believe. I'm trying to get the people that say they believe what I believe to do what they believe. You with me? Because when that happens, things change. And so, from 2002 to 2005, I was all about serving people, and then I discovered this. And so we changed the way we engaged the neighborhood. We saw people as, like I said, friends and neighbors. And then after 2005, then it was all about loving people. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to love some people. Okay, we got that right. I was messed up in the beginning. Okay, I get that. Now I'm all about loving people, and I worked my butt off to love people. So we were working hard. That's what that time period was. 2005, about 2009, man, we were working hard to love some folks. In fact, we were doing so many things with Jesus that we forgot Jesus. And we started getting burned out. And so we started implementing things like sabbaticals. We started thinking about how do you help people holistically grow as leaders? Not only staff and volunteers and board members and people and donors, but also our friends and neighbors in the neighborhood. And we started thinking a little bit differently about that. And then so from about 2009 on to today, from that time, we started to discover the why of what we do. And so these are these different iterations as we've been on this journey. And we started asking the question, why do we do all this? Because I got to tell you, I can share success stories tonight, and I can put up Bali for the next 10 years of banquets, and we could be like, now she's a lawyer, and she's funding our ministries because she makes so much money. And you hear what I'm saying, though, right? And she's like, yeah, but am I going to be working for you? So that's not going to really work out. So we're a nonprofit. So we started asking these questions of why are we doing all this? Because it isn't always easy. I got to be honest with you, there's a lot of times it's just like, man, I don't know if I'm making anything better. And I'm tired. And so we started asking the question, why? And we realized that God was calling us into his work, and we thought it was because he needed us, and it's not. He doesn't need me. He doesn't need Solidarity. He doesn't need us in the neighborhood. He can do it. So then why did he call me? It's because he wants to be with me. He wants to be with you. And he calls you into his work, you and I, to join in on his work because he wants to be with us. And then he calls me into compassion to suffer with others. Did you know that? Just read the Bible. You can't miss it. That he cares about people who are hurting. So it's like, okay, so God, why? And usually the church's answer to that is, well, because, they're hurting. Well, let me tell you, you get into enough suffering of this stuff and you're going to bail if that's your why. And so I said, why, God? Why do we have to suffer with people? Like, no one's going to want to do that. To have compassion to suffer with. And as we joined in, we realized that it got us in over our head. And we were like, I can't do this. And I run back to God and go, I can't do this anymore. And he goes, yeah, I know. I just wanted to spend some time with you, Tommy. And he knew that because of my human nature, that at some point, with the success that he's given me, I'm going to go, I'm pretty awesome. I'm so strategic, I don't need God anymore. I would never say that, but I'll be honest with you, it'll be in my heart. And so as I enter into these areas of suffering, I'm reminded that I'm not the Savior. That it's not about me, it's not about Solidarity, it's about as I get in these places, I realize I'm not the one to save this. And I run back to God and I spend time in his presence, and then he gives me everything I've ever needed to be able to do it some more. It's called the fruit of the Spirit. You ever heard of that? And so God's calling me into this why, and since the ultimate goal was just to be with him the whole time, that's what he wanted, but he called me into mission. He called me into the work. He's calling you into compassion to suffer with so that you can get to that same place. This is the journey that we've really taken at Solidarity. This is my personal journey. And we discovered that symbiotic relationship between joining in with what God's doing in the world and being in his presence. You see, what happens is I get over here and I'm on mission, and it's overwhelming, so I get over here and I come into God's presence. You feel me? And then I get over back, and then he gives me everything I need to be back over here, and then I'm back here. Okay, you with me? Can you move me a little bit? Here we go. So all of a sudden you're in a rhythm, right? See, I grew up in the 80s, so this is me, okay? So now you're in rhythm with God because you're in this rhythm where you're pouring out and you're coming back. And the whole point was to spend time with God in the beginning anyway. But you're not going to be able to do that very well unless you're joining in with what God's doing in the world. Unless you're getting in way over your head, because I got to tell you, I'm way in over my head. Way in over my head. And that's a blessing. When you suffer with others, that's a blessing. As you enter in and you realize the gratitude, you realize what God's doing. Coming into Garnett was like the greatest thing in my life. Being invited into people's homes and their lives. One of our staff members who works for Camino as well, her name is Alejandra. Hers was the first family to ever be nice to me. They felt sorry for this white boy that had somehow stumbled into their neighborhood. He looked kind of skinny. He wasn't married yet. And so they felt bad for me. And they would invite me over. And now 14 years later, when I knew her as a little girl, now she's a woman, she's married, she's a part of our church. She's doing an amazing job. Man, it's like the greatest adventure. Why wouldn't I want to share that with you? Why wouldn't you want to live that kind of life? That's what we're calling you into. And so that rhythm causes us to grow deep with God. And not only that, it causes impact in the world. And so our journey has led us to this point. And we believe that if we can help the church in the United States, now here's the vision part. If we can help the church in the United States and beyond enter into areas of suffering, not as a means of just service, but as a means of discipleship for their people. You heard Jim's story. If we can help them, the church, enter into areas of suffering as a means of discipleship for their people, not only will the context change, you'll see transformation, you'll hear stories like Vales, but the church will change. The church will become deep. The church will know, it'll walk with people, it'll be in the perfect place to walk and suffer with. Here's my question for us. Imagine if everything you heard tonight, was true about every single church in your city. Imagine that. Imagine if the chief of police in your city or in our city talked about your church and said, man, we need this church. You can't believe what's happening in this church. You can't believe the impact that this church is having. You can't believe that it was this church and what they're doing in this neighborhood that's changing things. To have the mayor talk about that. To say, man, the churches in our city, we need them. Because most cities, they're a nuisance. They don't pay taxes. They have the best land. They're hard to work with. But imagine if every single church in your city and in our city, we talked about it like we did tonight, and they had those stories. What would the world look like? That's the vision, friends. And I've had people tell me that's too hard, don't work with the church, it's not going to work, and I just blow those people off. Because my God's big. And he's doing it, and we get to be a part of it. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of it? Imagine that. That's our vision. And so for the last number of years, we've been living this thing out, making all types of mistakes. And we've been learning. And we've been cataloging, and we've been thinking deeply about this, and now we want to help your church. We want to join in. We want to learn from your church. We want to join in with your church to see that same thing happen in your city. That's where we're at today. So for the last year, that's the shift that we've been making. And I want to invite you in on that tonight. So if you would, here's how I'm going to invite you in. Right now, if you guys can open up those packets, I want you to pull this out right here, and your table hosts are going to give those to you. Pull it out. Looks like this. All right? And so we're inviting you. I hope you hear, this is a fundraiser. Now, you guys know that, right? Like you didn't just find that out right now, did you? Okay. It's a fundraiser, but here's the thing, and I hope you hear my heart in this. I actually want you to join in and partner with us. I want you to experience the emotion and the sense of what I'm talking about as we enter in. And I think you don't have to do it through solidarity. It's happening all over the place. But you're here and we're inviting you in. If you would, go ahead and start looking at that. You can fill out some of your information on that. There's pens at your table. And so fill out some of those first things. We want to get to know you. We want to put you on our mailing list. We want to make sure you know the stories that are happening. So go ahead and fill that out. I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds for that, a couple minutes. Go ahead and fill that out. All right, as you guys fill that out, I want to share with you what our goal is tonight. I'm a goal-oriented person. Anybody? Did you notice that? I just said I want to see the whole church transform in the United States. I might have some big goals here, right? That's why I need your help. We want to see this thing happen. And so tonight, here's the goal, because I know you guys are leaders and you're goal-oriented. Goal is $66,000. I didn't hear a gasp, so things are good. We're doing good here, okay? $66,000. Here's the thing, though. I already got a $33,000 match. So now we're already halfway. You feeling good right now? Okay, you with me? So we're already there, right? We already have a $33,000 match. Here's how this breaks down for us, because we counted you when you came in. We didn't size you up, don't worry. Because you're people, not projects. So what that turns out to be, with the crowd we have tonight, it's about $118 per person. Can you do that? I'm sorry, can you? I'm just kidding. So $118 a person. It's about what? That's like $1,180 a table. Okay. Now don't look right now, but I know you guys are sizing each other up. Like, man, I can only do 25, so this brother right here better up that, right? If you really want to know, look at their shoes. I'm just kidding. They have nice shoes. Anyway, But it's 118. We could be extra generous tonight and just bump that up to 120. Because it's a nice round number. But that's what we need. And we're looking at that. And this is going to kick off our kind of fall push as we push. And I meet with donors and we want to meet with you and get to know you. And because what we're doing is important. I make a lot of jokes about this, but the reality is that we need resources. And God has blessed us with resources. And He's blessed us to be a blessing. Now here's the thing. You guys, I'm sure that you guys are involved in a lot of different things and you give. That's awesome. And I hope you do. And we're asking you tonight if you would consider giving and joining in with us. Because we have a big vision and we have to not only provide for the compassion part of it, right? All the work that we're doing as we're working it out, but we also want to provide for the church engagement piece. Kevin and I, our whole thing now is about engaging the church. We want to work with your church. And that costs some money for us to do that. And so we are inviting you in on that. So as you fill out this card, you can write on there, I would like to journey with Solidarity further by, and you can see those things there. So go ahead and check some of those boxes. If you flip it over, a financial partnership piece is that we would ask you to join with us tonight. We want to reach that goal of $33,000. And we can do it in here. It's about $120 per person. And we can do that. And so if you can look at that, fill that in. If you want to give a monthly donation, that would be huge for us because we know it's coming in and we can count on you. If it's that one time, that's great. We're going to follow up with you. We're going to make sure that you know what's going on and what your money is going to. As you guys fill that out, and in a moment, we're going to end our whole time. And if you'd like to use a credit card, you can do it right over here. Maddie, go ahead. Raise your hand. Maddie's the nicest staff member we have. She will help you out.
Nicest, smartest.
You know, just bring your credit cards over there, your debit cards. She can take care of that for you over there, and we can help you do that. As you guys are filling that out, here's something else I want to share with you about as you give. You can go to the next slide. So, one of the things that we do here is we are not a black hole for funding. It's not like I'm going to just, we're always just going to be like, hey, thanks for giving, we need some more money, we need some more. What we do is we take your investment, we put it into our businesses, and we make more money from it. So that we are not a black hole for funding. We take it, we invest it, and then what this does is it provides jobs and job training for our students, and it provides money and income so that we can keep on going with our programs. So that we are a couple years out of funding so that we know that it's going to be taken care of. Because when you are dealing with things like victims of sex trafficking, that house can never close. And so we're thinking into the future a little bit here because we want to make sure. If you want to do business with us, quote us out. It's not one of those things where it's like we kind of like do a little lame business and then it's kind of like, but we're helping the kids. No, we are legit. The coffee is good. The screen printing is professional. And we're launching tonight something called Contrast Collective. If you need any type of design work done, you need a website hooked up, you need some video shot, you need some photography done, you need some of that lettering. You know that lettering that's really nice now, right? Amanda Lee is here. She's one of our artists here. And so she's in the back over there. She will hook that thing up and it'll look beautiful. Whether you want an art piece for your living room or it's like one of those like, hey, it's my wedding day, guest it here. You know what I'm talking about, all those hipster weddings. So you can hire. And these guys are excellent at what they do, and then they teach our students these same skills. They're going to get somewhere with these type of skills. So I just want you to know we think seriously about the transformation of the city and of the church, and we're honestly serious about this kind of work, and we think about it all the time, and we want to do it in an excellent way, and we're asking you to fund that, to join in on that movement. And so I want to say thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you enjoyed the dinner. Was it good? Yeah, good. I can never eat before I have to speak. So mine's sitting over there cold. So I'm suffering. So thanks for suffering with me. So I really appreciate that. Bless you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to be hanging out. The Solid Enterprise team is going to be hanging out. Our staff's going to be hanging out. Come talk to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy. Again, thank you so much for journeying with us. This is the end of our solid banquet. I think we made it on time. 3 minutes early, not bad. Make sure you spend those 3 minutes going to the credit card table. Let me pray to end us, and thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming today. Father, we thank you so much for you being here in this room. It's your presence that we all chase after. It's more important than funding, it's more important than relationships, it's more important than anything. It's being with you. So I pray a blessing, a special blessing over everybody in this room that they got to experience a little piece of you today. And that they get to take it back to wherever they came from. So that your presence is just felt and known everywhere. Father, we lastly just want to pray that you will help us prioritize the value of your kingdom over the value of our own selves. In the way we think, in the way that we act, in the way that we relate with others. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Blessings, everybody. Thank you.
Can you tell our
No, I think
So did your involvement kind of peak from the trafficking aspect, or did that evolve, or was that kind of an inspiration from you? I mean, I know that's
your thing. They started. It kind of happened naturally at the same time. So my involvement started before they were doing that, and so I definitely don't take credit for the influence, but it's something that a lot of people have been paying attention to in the last 5 or 6 years. So, but it definitely has been a burden to me that they've been paying attention to that. So, and in terms of the trafficking, I focus specifically on the kids, and kind of the most vulnerable kids in the county are the foster kids, and then the second most vulnerable are the kids that were illegal immigrants. And so, both Solidarity and our church, launching Immigration Services, they're ahead of us, and definitely has actually helped us to get through it.
Thanks for watching.
It went the whole time.